Break.
Woo, Charlie! Good effort. Good effort.
Trying to produce whines. Sometimes dogs can throw you off sometimes when you're trying to diagnose them. And sometimes you hear a story from owners or whatever, and then you already got an image in your head, or you're imagining what the dog's like already by hearing what people got to say. And then we're seeing the dog's behaviors, and it's like so overwhelming we don't know where to start. To keep it simple in the beginning, so we don't have to really worry about all the symptoms that the dog's showing, all the bad behaviors that everybody's complaining about, everything it does wrong, we start with what we call the foundation. Very simple things for the dog to learn. We teach the dog to recall. We teach the dog to stay. Now, we're able to put them into situations where they don't want to recall, they don't want to stay. It's clear what's being asked of them, but we got down to a situation where the dog says, oh, here's my attitude, by the way. I don't like being told what to do to this degree. So we found it, and then we say, well, I'm going to ask again, and I'm going to correct you if you don't listen. Just a mild correction, just so the dog knows it's on the table. And then you say a dog say, oh, fuck this, right? I'm not talking about this guy per se, but dogs in general, they usually try to fight or flight, you know? So either they try to run away from the situation, they get recalled back. It doesn't work. Now, if fleeing doesn't work, I'm gonna try fighting. And that could just be like it doesn't have to be a biter, even though if a biting dog chooses to fight, they're gonna bite you. They can just throw a temper tantrum, just trying to fight out of the situation, whatever the situation is. They can freeze, where the dog just does nothing and tries to wait for the situation to pass. Or the last one, they can submit. Most every dog we work with goes through the first three and then they submit. They don't try submission first. They try flight, fight, freeze. They try all those first. When they're unsuccessful, then they submit. And once they realize that's successful, that becomes a new behavioral choice or new behavioral response to conflict. Meaning when your human says, oh, I didn't like that, they can go, here's submission. I know that works. Ignoring you doesn't work, which is freezing, essentially. They're just waiting for it to go away. Walking away, running away from the situation doesn't work, and fighting doesn't work. Now, if the dog doesn't try all those things, well, they're going to. They know they don't just have free will without consequence anymore, right? If I was saying, come here for a treat, that's not the same. We're not going to get the same response from a dog. We're going to get a dog who's going to say, what do you have? Oh, it is something I want, so I'll come over and get it. Or what do you have? I'm not really into it. I'm not going to come over. We're not playing that game. We're saying, come, and then if you don't recall, there's a consequence, and I ask again. I say, come again. If you don't come, there's a firmer consequence. The dog learns this system. They also learn that they can bypass all corrections by dropping what they're doing and just recall. So if they hear the tone, if they drop what they're doing, they come right to you, we're all good. So that's the escape, okay? Dogs can get frustrated with this style of training because there is no way out of it. We win. We win because the science says we win, right? So their old tricks now are being punished. It's by e-collar, so it's super easy and super low, energy for me. I don't have to go walk up on the dog and puff up on a dog and really present myself as dominant. I can just give them consequences. I can have aversive control, which means I can give an aversive outcome for the decision I didn't like so that they make a different decision. Eventually they'll land on the one that I like because the lesson's gearing them towards that, it's directing them towards that. They get the good boy, which is this. What he's doing right now, he's doing things that I like, right? Staying close. When I haven't told him to recall or anything, I just stopped. He was out in front of me. I stopped. He said, I better stop and come back to him. Because he's like that in the past. So he knows that I don't want him just wandering without paying attention to us. It's going to lead to a correction and a recall. So he comes over here. He knows I don't like whining. So he lays himself down. So he's adjusting to his environment. I am part of his environment, right? So if I'm in the same environment as him and I'm able to set boundaries, I can actually change this guy. I can change the way he interacts with the world, okay? So, like I was saying, it's hard to diagnose a dog sometimes. You see so many things wrong, you don't know where to start. You start with giving them something basic to learn, like a recall, and a stay. You don't have to do anything more than that. You got a dog here, you got a dog to stay, and then you have what you need to set up situations where you can disagree. I can simply be walking into the kitchen, and then I turn around to my dog, I say stay because he's following me. I keep walking, he doesn't stop, he ends up in the kitchen. That's grounds for me now to correct and send him out of the kitchen, just to show him that when I speak, it's relevant. Just a handful of these experiences leads a dog to hear your voice and listen. But if we try to do this without punishment, we will not get a real, reliable dog. We'll get a dog that we will have to have a reward at all times hanging over his nose that's high enough value that it trumps all the environmental events, meaning people coming through the door, dogs barking, strangers. Your little piece of cheese has to be, he might have to be starving and really, really want that piece of cheese. It's not a good option. It's not reliable. If it was, I wouldn't have a job, right? Because if cheese worked, if food worked, I wouldn't be here. Everybody has food. Everybody has thought of that and has tried that and does that. But it doesn't work because it's only part of the puzzle. We use rewards. Of course we use rewards. But the other half of the puzzle is punishment. And that's the part that folks don't know how to apply properly. So let's imagine raising dogs without proper punishment. That's why they end up here. People know how to give them rewards. They know how to give them affection. They know how to play ball with them, but they don't know how to punish properly, and they don't know how to get a dog to be respectful and calm. Getting to that root problem is we put a dog in a situation where they don't want to listen, but they understand what we're saying, right? I said don't go over to that dog, but you go over to that dog. This is all set up, by the way. I'm not waiting for it to organically pop up in my life. I'm thinking I'm going to start claiming, like a dog would, resources, so that this dog doesn't think that the person that's coming in is for them, or the dog that's walking on the street is for them. I'll let them know everything's mine first unless I give it to you, because I showed you that I'm above in the pecking order. I made you aware of that by putting you in a room, entering a dog, you trying to go up on the dog, me correcting you and sending you away and claiming the dog, me doing that with food and with toys and with space, to the point where this dog assumes that when something new comes into the environment, which could be anything, that I get first dibs. And if I didn't tell him to, if he's looking at it like he wants it, I take offense to that and correct, right? This is because this is what dogs will do to each other. So it really works. The thing that blows my mind is that it works so well, yet nobody's doing it, right? I mean, more people are learning about it now. He's not stressed right now. Why is he not stressed right now?
No options.
And he would have been, no options. But look, he can go anywhere. I'm not restraining him here. Well, yeah, you can go over there. I'm just going to correct you for going over there because I'm not ready to go over there. Or I'll correct you for going to these little rules, right? If he were to hop up and kind of just walk away, he'd get corrected and recalled. But I'm not going to stop him from walking away early on in the training because I want his belief system to be this. Therefore, I don't have to monitor the dog all the time and constantly be hounding him and nagging him. I let him, our training style is set up so that they're allowed to make the decisions that nobody wants them to make. And they're allowed to make them as many times as they want. We just have aversive control now, which means we can give an outcome that's undesirable, which means the dog connects that this behavior equals the undesirable outcome, which means I'm going to, as the dog, choose not to do that behavior. As soon as they do that, I say, and then we try it again tomorrow. Next thing you know, it's pattern that they say that old behavior is no longer beneficial to me. It's not because Josh doesn't want me to. It's because every time I do it, it's an aversive, it's an undesirable outcome. So it's not successful to me anymore. So therefore, I'm not going to do it. Especially because this new behavior, which is being passive like this. This is something that I taught him to do. To be submissive like this, be calm and passive to the environment versus interactive and intense, like we talked about yesterday. This is the alternative. And if I do this instead of the behaviors that I normally do, I get praised. I get, good boy, nice job. And more importantly, I don't get corrected. So the absence of the correction is reward enough. But me saying good boy is icing on the cake, and it just helps reinforce it more. He chose this without me telling him to. Beautiful. I'm gonna continue this walk and try to get him to whine. His whine comes up in transition of things and anticipation of things, right? So as soon as we leave here and we go into another kind of activity, we move over in this area over here, likely to see whining if he's wants to do something but he's not sure what to do, or these kind of things. So what I'm teaching him is when you go into that state, when you start to feel that way, and you hear yourself making noise, do that. That when I say that, I'm saying this mind. Right now, he's using the down to do it, but he'll be able to be here, walking and doing whatever, just kind of being passive and following the humans. And then when we say break and tell him he can go be interactive, that's when he can go. I still don't want you, whining and all that stuff, but that's when you can go sniff and go do all this stuff and enjoy exploring, because it's important for a dog to explore the world. It's just, don't do it until we offer. Okay? So, unless he's been offered to go explore, it should be understood that he's not allowed to, right? How do we get that across to the dog? Well, if I haven't told him to get up and walk away, that he could, if he gets up and walks away, he gets corrected, called back here, and try again. So he doesn't just get up and do it himself. He waits for me to release him, okay? These are the small changes that make the world of a difference of how a dog views you. They'll actually view you as relevant and actually above them in the hierarchy. So they'll see you as somebody to follow, to take direction, because whenever they're listening to you, they're avoiding consequences on the e-collar. Whenever they're listening, you say do this, they did that, they avoided the consequence, they got a good boy. Whenever they say I don't want to listen, and they go into that attitude, you can see them slip into that mode, that state of like resistance. Well, that's where the correction is going to come in. I don't even have to wait for you to do something bad. I can just see you switch into that state of being like, and I can just correct. And here's the thing, it does work once the dog's conditioned to the collar. Obviously, disclaimer, this is once a dog's conditioned to the collar, and that's done professionally, okay? I'm gonna try to get him to
Whine.
Yeah. His recall's been on point.
Yeah.
Sometimes he doesn't want to recall, so you see a little bit. I'm not worried about that.
No.
I'm really worried about his
whining.
mind.
Yep.
See what he did there, though? That was brilliant. He's seen a transition in events. He stopped, he looked at us, he calmed himself down. He actually positioned himself behind us. Nothing's coincidence. Okay, good. We're going to come up here and stop and see if we can produce the whine. I don't remember what I said either. Isn't that crazy? Alright, let's stop right here. Good. See that right there, what he just did there? Stop, looked at me, I said good. Now let's see if he starts whining. Let's see what he does. See the state of mind that he's in right now? He's learning that if he goes up any more than that, he starts to get anxious. That's when you start to see him vocalize or maybe even jump on you. He realizes that when he's in that state, I don't like it, and I'm consistent with correcting him. So he's actually starting to regulate himself and keeping himself calmer. That's what it's all about. That's what that state of mind training is. This is when a dog would whine, though. Especially if they see something going on that they want to do or go check out somewhere. See, he's catching on. He knows if he goes too far that I'm going to actually walk away from him and correct and recall. So he's keeping himself a certain... This is all good. Eventually, he's not going to be thinking. He's just going to be reprogrammed. I will have reprogrammed his responses. Because dogs, they form associations, and then they kind of just go on autopilot and just respond the same way every time. So if we can change their response, their associated response, which is currently him going, he does the same thing for everything. He gets really high energy, whines, and jumps, right? The solution is going to be the same for every situation. It's going to be just be calm in your mind and passive. Whether you want to lay down, sit, or whatever, that's going to be the alternative. I'm happy with that. I don't need to teach him anything complicated. And we're going to put that calmness in all the commands too. I'll do a recall. He's doing great. He's kept to himself. He's picking up on our pattern, isn't he? Good. Nice boy. And then just hold still, because he will usually whine here too, because this is transition. Did you hear that one? So a little bit, but nothing like he normally does. It's a whine fit. It's all right, so here's what's happening. He'll start that whine fit. I will correct him and send him away from it. You can also do this inside from room to room, like hang out in one room and do some work, and then when you're ready to trigger him again, you go into a different room and just because you're now in a new location, it'll trigger a dog like this into that space. Good boy. See, he's now checking in and staying calm. Come on. Good boy. Good boy. That's a good boy. Come. Yay! Come here. Yay! Good boy. Okay, so it's just transition. So that's why the recall's working so well to get that whine. Good. So he's noticing while you're whining in front of me, you're getting corrected. While you're quiet in front of me, you're getting pat, right? So as time goes on, not much time either, just a few days, all the whines will go away, you know? But here's the thing, he's in the kennel, right? And so he's not having any unwanted experiences when I'm not working with him. He's not going and doing things I'm not aware of. And the only time he's taken out of the kennel is to work on his behavior. And then I put him back in the kennel when I'm done with him. And the next time I take him out, it's to work on his behavior, right? You know what I mean? So he's changing quick versus giving him a little lesson, letting him free roam the house all day. 3 days later, maybe try it again. You know what I mean? You're not gonna get anywhere. It's just not gonna work. He only comes out of the kennel to improve his behavior until he's a changed dog. And once he's a changed dog, then he's slowly integrated into our life as a family to figure out his role. That's how you should do it, right? That's how you keep control to make sure they develop properly. Because if they don't develop right, they're a mess. Well, we all know what happens, right? They need professional help. Or most of the time, people don't get professional help and they just live like that and they say, that's how dogs are. Good.
That is amazing.
Stay. He hasn't done this before, by the way. Break.
Woo!
Nice.
Yeah, Charlie! Good boy!
Wow, Charlie, that was amazing.
That's brilliant.
Bud. Good boy.
Yeah,
a lot of praise gets him whining too.
Yeah, he's one of these dogs where if an owner tried to do it themselves, they'd be like, he's doing everything, but he's whining.
But he's whining, yeah.
Or even trainers struggle with
Well,
this.
because we're focusing on command
Yeah.
versus
The mind.
state of mind. But I think state of mind is really an easy way to kind of tell a dog what state of mind you want, is to use the conversation of claiming the hierarchical conversation that you have with a dog can really teach them that submission is the answer, meaning being passive and stop worrying about stuff and trying to interact with it. That's going to be the answer to pretty much everything your human is complaining about. If you choose to just be calm and disengage with it, they will be happy. We learned this over a career of training dogs. So that's the skill that we focus on. And then we layer that mind, that nice, calm, disengaged, connected to us, but disengaged with the world to a level where they're reliable. We put that in the commands. So we're not just teaching commands. If I was just teaching commands, I wouldn't be where I am today. I wouldn't be as successful as I am today. Commands aren't what's making these dogs good. I mean, it's just making them better and more convenient, but the real change is the dog's state of mind, right? Instead of being crazy all the time, they now have an alternative, which is this passive follower state where they know how to take direction, they know how to be calm, they know how to be passive. And they've submitted to the fact that that's where they are in this setting and with these people. That's where the change really is. And then when we teach the commands, we just say, hey, do that in sit and in down and in heel. You're right? And in place. Come here, baby. Quiet. Nice work. Stay. That's perfect. It's a good dog, a good boy. Good boy. Nice job. Nice. Because he wants to be at the house. Because we see a lot of the dogs do this. We have our little adventure. They see the house. So naturally, they're like, oh yeah, that's where we're going next. So they just start going. He listened to that recall without any correction. Just turned right around, came to me, did not whine. I like that. And is staying. This is huge. Was day 3 for him? 2? 3, right? Perfect. Good boy, stay. Good boy, smart, beautiful boy. Yes. Oh my God, Charlie. I bet you he was the cutest little dog, little puppy. Let's see what he does. Stops himself. Good boy. Now, right here's pivotal. Does he come back towards us, hold still, or head towards the house? Good boy. Heading towards the house would have been a correction. Good boy. That gets the reward. Good job. Because he says, I'm going to stick with the pet. I'm going to see what the humans want to do. That is huge. Wouldn't have done that before. Would have just went, gone. I didn't give him any information, didn't correct him, didn't say anything. He stopped on his own. See, whenever he commits to a takeoff is when I'm teaching him that's not what I like. Oh, what a good boy. Now that's good, standing still. I'm all right with that. If he heads up those stairs, I'll correct, recall. If he heads towards me, good boy. If he holds still, that's fine too. Good. I love that. You see that? He registered. I love it. Good boy. Really learning what we like. Really nice. Really good boy. He's like, okay, so follow. Don't be independent. Follow directions. Good. Oh my God, you are such a beautiful boy. Wait, see if there's gonna be any whines from that praise. Good boy. Wow, amazing.